Hi everyone, a big welcome to you. This is another edition of Microsoft Power Night. It is an interesting one because today is the first time we're having a meeting not on weekday and also not at the late hour. Oftentimes we've been having Microsoft Power Night at 12:15 a.m. middle of the night, Tuesday through Wednesday at Nigerian time. And a lot of community members have complained that they would love to be part of this and contribute and learn actively. However, the workload and kind of being stressed out, they couldn't meet up with our midnight event. And this is why we've listened to them, we've done a survey, and we're moving the event to Saturday, 9 p.m. So going forward, every Saturday, 9 p.m., not every Saturday, but fortnightly, we're going to be having this edition. Is an opportunity to learn and accelerate your Power Platform learning knowledge skills. So while I make an introduction to our guest today, a very experienced person in the space of Power Apps, I'm just going to give us a 30-second countdown or less than that while I reach out to the larger room through my platform and profile and encourage people to join. So I would just like to also encourage you while I'm doing that, that you should also share this link right now and put it on your platform. A lot of people are going to learn something. It does not matter your level of experience. Today, you will learn a functional solution using Microsoft Power Apps, not that technical. Our expert is going to do justice to that. So, thank you for joining us. A lot of people have connected now. So, just please share this link on YouTube. Share the YouTube link, share the one on Facebook in case you are joining us from Facebook and LinkedIn. Just share the link and have it pasted on your platform so people can join. I'm going to do a short countdown now. Thank you. All right, thank you. We are back. It's just 30 seconds, and it is time to kick in to what we have for today. The use case I'm going to present and share my screen shortly. It is the fifth episode of Microsoft Power Night. The objective and goal of this community is to help us and accelerate our knowledge of Microsoft Power Platform. So either through the use of Power Application, through the use of Power Automate, Power BI, and Power Virtual Agent. And one of the things that makes us unique in the way we deliver solutions or accelerate people's knowledge is we ensure we deliver a functional use case at the end. So what does that mean? At the end of today, what we're going to develop, you can go back to your organization and replicate it, and it's going to be functional from day one. You can also build one for yourself using the free Microsoft license. That way you are building a portfolio, and the next interview, the next opportunity you have more value to showcase, you have more portfolio to discuss through, even if it is not in the field of Power Apps. Definitely, every organization will appreciate that because it is an added value. So today, let us consider the use case that we have. We're going to be building a clocking application which some often call check-in, where today when you go to an organization or your workplace, you have to fill most of the time manually, an attendance sheet. Okay, this is time I'm clocking in, and then we are practicing social distancing. And a lot of organizations need to evolve and find a better means to keep that social distancing. I've had this situation where I'm signing in and someone is signing out. Imagine, I'm just coming in, sanitize, I do everything. Even for signing in, signing out, you take the same pen, you write, you touch the same book, we're increasing physical contact. Meanwhile, we're trying to practice our social distancing and keep ourselves make our system more efficient and processes. So today we're going to be building a clocking application where an employee, once you get into the organization, all you just have to do put on your Power Apps and just on the clocking application, and the necessary detail you need to put it there and click submit. It's going to capture that you signed it, the data accessible to that admins at the back end. So they will have access to what you're doing, that you've clocked in. And then we are talking about the same thing, just click on the app and then put in the required information and you've worked out. Remember that this data is digitally captured. You can run analytics on it. You can, a lot of things can be done. Meanwhile, the ones that are on paper, so it's not just because you are changing the process from paper to an application. There's going to be a lot of value that the organization will get. A lot of time after the paper is filled up, you take the paper, you go and drop it somewhere else. There's no way you can enter or do data. It's going to be laborious to start doing data entry on that same application. You now have an Excel file again. You look at every log book that you've had for several years, start entering data one by one. That's not efficient. But it's until you digitize the data before you can run analytics. But using this solution, you will be able to have access to data at the back end. You can run analytics on it, check, employee productivity, maybe not fully, but you get to know how many work hours are people truly spending. As simple as that. So join me as I make welcome our guest today in person of Tunde Akande. I must say that he is a very experienced Power Apps developer in the industry, and I have huge respect for him. Personally, I have learned a lot from him, and over time, the sort of mentor relationship still continues. But I'm glad that we have him here with us today. Hi, Tunde, and thank you for joining Microsoft Power Night. Hi, are you there?
Hello. Yeah, hi everybody. Good evening.
Uh,
Yeah, good to be here as well. Hi everyone. Hi Ola. I'm glad to be here to speak. I'm highly privileged to be here today. Yeah, so Ola is also a very good friend of mine. We've had contacts. We have had to talk a couple of times, and I want to also appreciate his work he's doing for the community. I believe a lot of people have also been learning a couple of things for in the last few weeks or months that we started up this power night as well. So I want to say a big kudos to you because it's not easy, taking out of your busy schedule to also teach others and all of that because of course it's not being paid for what it's doing. It's just a community service. I mean, it's very, 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 very commendable. So I think I have to also commend him on that. But I'm
Thank
glad
you.
to be here. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So we have you here with us today, and we're also very glad and we appreciate that. So the use case is defined, and we would like you to take it off from here.
Okay. Yeah. So good day, everyone. I hope we can. My screen is visible, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So for today, we are going to be building a very simple app or a clock-in application. So we are just going to be making it as simple as possible because of our time. Of course, we can, always build on whatever we have now. We can add more features. I would also talk about things that are possible with it because I've actually worked on a similar app previously. So I'll talk on things that are possible so we know how powerful, the platform is, the power apps and all that. But we are going to be keeping it, very short and simple because of our time today. But I believe even with what we are going to do, we are going to learn, one or two things from there. So, okay, I should have put about myself here. So, okay, let me just give a brief about myself. Tunde Akande. Yeah, so I've been working with Powerapps on the Power platform for I think over 2 years, about thereabout now. Yeah, so I worked on a couple of um, applications, automation of business processes, and I've really been enjoying it, right? So um, Power Apps, Power Automate are the major tools I use out of the Power platform. So though I could use Power BI and Power Virtual Agents to some extent, but I focus majorly on Power Apps and Power Automate, right? So I mean, it's an interesting platform, and I believe everyone that is going to it, you really enjoy it. You see the power in it, right? It's called the Power Platform. So you see how powerful this tool can be. So let me just go straight into this. So the case scenario here today is an app that allows employees to check in and out of the office. So we know Ola already talked about it. So we have a case where normally when people go into the office, you have to probably sign in on a paper that okay, I'm in, and when you are leaving as well, you go back to sign out and put in your dates and the time you are signing in, right? So or signing out, as the case may be. So what we are trying to do is make this digital using our Power Apps. So you have an app whereby rather than having to fill a physical paper, you just open your app and you click on check in, and you are checked into the app. And when you are leaving as well, you click on check out and you check out as well. So it just keeps the time you are checking in and the time you are checking out and your name. So which is basically what is being captured when you fill a form. So we are going to be seeing how we can just simply build something like this. Of course, it can be more robust than that, but because of our time, we just keep it simple. So the tools we are going to be used today is Microsoft Teams, Powerapps, and Dataverse. Yeah, so I'm sure we are familiar with some of this as well. So for some of us who might not be very familiar, I'll just give some brief explanation of what these tools are and what they are used for. And we'll be seeing a real demo of these applications in a short while. Yeah, so first of Microsoft Teams, I'm sure almost everybody will probably be familiar with this. So it's a business communication platform by Microsoft, that allows you to communicate within the organization and even externally, right? So it allows so it's used for a lot of things. You could chat with it, you could share files, you could do a video call or audio call, and video conferencing within the team. You could use it to start a file storage, and it also integrates applications. It's a very robust tool by Microsoft, right? So that's what Microsoft Team basically is. Yeah, so Power Apps as well is a suite of apps, services and connectors that allows you to quickly build business applications. So with Power Apps, you can build business applications, very rapidly. And the interesting part of it is that it's a low code or no code platform, which means you don't necessarily need to have a um, a coding knowledge. You don't really need to be an expert. You can write code in JavaScript or the likes before you can start with Power Apps, because it's majorly drag and drop, though it has some functions that you need to put in at some point, but they are not as complex as you writing codes, right? So it's a matter of just understanding some logics that you need to put into the app, and all of that. So that's what Power Apps is. Then so of course it can connect to different data sources. So one of them is this Microsoft Dataverse, which you are going to be using today. So it could also be SharePoint. You connect to other data sources on Microsoft 365, even Dynamics 365, your SQL server, and a lot of that. So it could be your data source could be online or it could be on premises. So in the case where you are using on premises, you might need to set up there is an on-premise data gateway that you need to set up on the server where you have that on premises. Yeah, so Dataverse is I'll call it a data source basically. So it allows you to securely store and manage your data that is being used by your business applications, right? So there is we have the tables and the rows and columns within your Dataverse. So similar to, I'm sure everybody here is probably familiar with Excel sheets. So the way you can have your table in Excel, where you have your rows and your columns on your Excel table, right? So you can create a table whereby, okay, you need to add a new item, you just add it on a new row. So anybody that needs to update it, you just keep adding and putting the values in the respective column. So the structure of the database is also similar to that. So with this is what we are going to be using today to store our information. So whenever anybody signs in or signs out, it should be going to a particular row on that our database. So yeah, so I'll just go straight into the demo uh, for the sake of time. So let me just quickly put up my screen where I have this.
All right, while you're doing that, Babatunde, it's so interesting to see how you can rapidly build an application without even having programming knowledge. And today we're going to see even much more how to look into Microsoft Teams, that same Teams that I use every day. You mean I can build an application leveraging on Power Apps within that same Teams? I'm actually excited and looking forward to that.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Ola. Yeah. So this is the Microsoft Teams platform for probably people who are seeing this for the first time. I'm sure you're probably all familiar with the likes of Zoom, which you use for calls and all that. So Microsoft Teams is a much more powerful platform where you can also so it's basically used by organization whereby you can have your meetings, online meetings there. You want to, especially now that we are in a period where most people are now working remotely. Of course, there still needs to be communication. You need to communicate with your colleagues. You need to chat. You need to make calls. You need to have video calls and meetings. So the Microsoft Teams is a very, very useful tool for that. So with Microsoft Teams, you can do all of that. You can also use it to share files. You can share content with it. You can do a lot of things with it. So one of the things we can do with it again is integrating applications, right? Which is one of the things we are going to be using today. So with this, within our Microsoft Teams, we'll see how we can quickly build our apps with Power App. So Power Apps, of course, is a standalone application on its own, but we can quickly integrate it with Teams because most times, for example, in my organization, what we do is basically is to communicate on Teams, right? We have Teams channel, Teams group. People can chat you privately, so you are mostly on your Teams all day, right? So rather than having to switch to a different application and switching back and forth, you can quickly have whatever you need to access even right within your teams, right? So which is one of the things reason we are using this Microsoft team as that platform to quickly build our application. So yes, so I have this particular teams group which I have created, this team channel. So from here, what we are going to do here is to so say you already have your Teams channel and you want to add your Power Apps to it. So what we are going to do here is to just click on this plus icon. So when you click on this, you can see the list of applications. So I mentioned the fact that you can integrate it with different applications, right? So either within Office 365 or even outside of Office 365. So you can see that there are certain tools here that are not even Microsoft solutions, and you can also integrate them within your Microsoft Teams. So it could be applications on Microsoft or non-Microsoft apps. So what we are using here today is a Microsoft application, which is Power Apps, right? So we select Power Apps and we say, okay, add this. So yeah, so this is adding my Power Apps to it. So it tells me if I need to select an app that already exists. So I have applications that I've already built and I just want to kind of embed it within my Microsoft Teams. So I can quickly do that and say I want to just quickly create a new app as well. I can quickly do that as well. Yeah, so I think it's loading. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so you can see I have a couple of applications here which I can just quickly pick from. So what I'll just do in this case is to say create an app in Power Apps. So because we are creating a new application, so we'll just say create an app in Power Apps. So that is loading. So when this finish loading, it gives me the opportunity to create my data source, which will be Dataverse in this case. I can create the application I want. I want to design it. I want to put a lot of customization and add my functionalities. I can then do everything right within my teams without having to even go out of the teams. So I can build my app there. I can continue to use the application within this my teams. So it's taking a bit of time to quickly set up that application right within this Teams channel that I have.
All right. Thank you so much today. It's been very engaging thus far. I just want to add this to our audience that traditionally, if you're building an application, there's two sides to the application. First, there is the front end, and the second part there is the back end. And conventionally, the back end is maybe for a functioning application is a database. So you have a database where the application, the data, everything resides. You have the front end where people interact. You could then develop a sort of a platform where a sort of GUI where people can then see the data and do analysis. But traditionally, for an application, the data that you are entering, the things that you are interacting with, are feeding to a database, and that's the backend. And I think that's where we have now on Teams. Am I right?
Yes, yes, very well. Thanks, Ola. Thanks for putting in that. So maybe for people who are not probably familiar with, application development, or maybe you don't have a coding knowledge before you are new to this. So when you are building an application, of course, there's a part we call the front end and the back end. So the front end is the part which the user interacts with. So maybe any application you've used previously, it could be a mobile app or a web app. Mostly what you are seeing is the front end of the application, which means the parts the user can interact with. So when you are filling a form or you go online, you are just clicking. So let's say you need to fill a form online. All you are doing is, okay, put in your name, put in every information that is required, and you submit, right? So that's the front end. But there's a back end to it, which means when you put every of those details, it's actually going somewhere. All your information is being stored somewhere, which is the back end now. So there's a database where your information is going, so that in case you need to maybe log point in time, it fetches that information from there and validates if it's valid or not, right? So all of that then comes into the back end part of the application. So Powerapps is majorly back end, majorly front end rather. So it's majorly front end, which means I can design it. Okay, when I click on this, take me to this place. When I do this, this is what you should do, and all of that. But there's still a back end. It still does a bit of back end, because those information, it also still passes those information, to your database, right? But majorly, it's a front end of the application. So on Power Platform, and another thing you use for majorly backend processes is the Power Automate, which then, you are not really seeing what is happening behind the scene, but it's just taking out some actions based on certain conditions that you've predefined. So let's just call this our clocking application. Right? So, and we say save. So yeah, this is saving. So once this finish saving, one of the things, so that means it has given our app a particular name. So one thing we now need to do is, like I mentioned, we need our data needs to be stored somewhere, a database. So which is where the Dataverse now comes in. So we need our Dataverse to be a place where all the information we are going to be filling, goes into, right? So what we can do from here is to say, okay, create a new table. So the first thing we are going to do, so when you are trying to create your app, you need to kind of have a structure in mind of what the back end of your application should look like. So back end in the sense that what information do I need to put? So when I'm building an app that maybe requires people's biodata, what the structure of the data will look like will be different from when I'm building a leave request application, for example, because the type of information that I need are quite different. So based on whatever information that I need or I require, that would determine what my data source or my table will look like. So here now, if we create a new table, so let's call it clocking information, and we create this. So when you create this table, so I'm sure this will now look familiar, like something that we have seen before on Excel, whereby you have a table and you have the rows. So from here now, I can now start creating my additional columns. So the additional columns what will determine what additional columns I need are what information do I need. So we are trying to build a clocking application. Of course, I need the name of whoever is clocking in, because I have different employees, so I need to know who exactly is clocking in or clocking out, right? So another thing is I need to know what time is this person signing in, right? Or what time is this person signing out, right? So those are the kind of information I need. So I could also need the email of whoever is signing in, because of course we are using Microsoft Teams and Power Apps. It requires that you have an Office 365 account, which of course we have an email address. So in a case where, so we might not be doing that today, but it's like I mentioned, because of time, we are constrained to a couple of things that we can do. But I'll just explain some of the possibilities of what we can do as we go on, right? So one of the possibilities is, okay, whenever anyone clocks in, and I want to build an automation, with Power Automate to say, when you clock in, anytime anybody clocks in, send them an email that, okay, thank you, you have successfully clocked in. And when you clock out, it sends you another email to say, yes, thank you, you have successfully clocked out, right? So we might want to do that. So to achieve that, we'll need the email of whoever is clocking in or clocking out. So which is one of the reasons we also keep the email. So let's say we need to have an email. So of course, we click on this plus icon. This is our Dataverse now. We click on the plus icon. I want to add the name, the name of the person, the email rather. So we already have the name, so we can use this particular column. So this column will always come whenever you just create. It's a default column. So in addition, you can now have other columns that you need. So let's say you want to create an email. So we can create that email. And so yes, so when you are creating any column, depending on what type of data you want to go into that column, that will determine the data type you select uh from here, right? So in a case where it's just a text, or it's a date, or a number, or whichever one that that fits the type of data you are trying to put in, that's what you put in here. So let's say we have email. So our data type here, we can select email and we say create. So once you create, you see that it adds to part of the column that I have here. So let's say I want to also get the dates at which you are signing in. So I can make that a date. So for this has just the date. So I might want to also pick the time. So I'll say, okay, so I think I should actually make this the dates, because we will need the dates you came in and the dates you clocked in and the time you clocked out. So let's say the date in. So we can use that for the dates you clocked in, and let's say the time in, just to capture the time. Okay, so let's say the date out, so which should also be a date, and we say the time out. Then status. So this status is what will help us to capture if the person is currently signed in or currently signed out, and we'll see the reason why we are using that very shortly, why we need this particular status. So I'll just close this, and we'll see that this will then be added as a data source on our application, right? So we already have this. So this clocking information is the name of our data source, which is our Dataverse that we have created. So we have this app here. So, and I can see that it's already showing me, it's already showing the form based on the type of the columns I've already created, the name, the email, the dating, dates out, time in, time out, and the status. So one thing I want to do here is, so on Powerapps as well, we have like two different orientation. So um, we have the landscape and the portrait. So the landscape is this particular type where it looks more like the desktop version. There is another one which is from here. So if I go to the settings from here and I go to screen size and orientation, I can select portraits. So portrait is what looks more like a mobile view, a mobile application view, which of course Okay. So one thing I forgot to mention about Power Apps as well is um, it's cross-platform, right? So any app you build works on both the web browser as well as your mobile phone, right? So on your mobile phone, you need to just download the Power Apps application and you are able to use it on your phone. So which means, so on a normal day, when you are building applications, if you have ask any developer, when you are building an app, you need to build a separate app um, your for your web application and you build a separate one for a mobile app, right? So you might need to get two different developers, maybe someone that does web application and does mobile application, right? But when you are building a Power Apps, you are both a web and a mobile developer because whatever app you are building works on both without having to make any changes. So once you just build the app and you publish it, whether you are using it on your desktop or on your mobile phone, you are using the same app and it works, exactly the same way.
Wow, okay. Thank you, Batunde. Can I just interrupt here?
Okay.
Because it's a big thing for me to see that I build a single application and I don't have to replicate the effort to have the web version. I don't have to replicate the effort to have the mobile version. And to the best of my understanding, this same application can work on Android, can work on iOS, can also work on Windows. Am I right?
Yes, definitely. So on if you need to use it on your mobile phone, so on your App Store or iOS store, depending on the device you are using, you just download the Power Apps application. Is on the store. So you just download it and then you see and you log in. Of course, then you see the access or you see all the list of applications that you have access to, and you can keep using it, and you don't need to get a different mobile developer or anything to help you develop your web app on your mobile again. So that's another very, very interesting part of the Power Apps as well. So here, what I want to do is, so I added a new screen. So of course, you can add a new screen from here depending on the layout of the screens. So I added a new screen here. So my screen here, what I want to do is I want to make this to just say, so I can make this my
Welcome screen or
sorry,
home
I'm very bad
screen?
with design. Yes, exactly. Thank you. So it will be my home screen where I'll just say, okay, welcome this and this, right? And I'll just make that design. So of course, when we open any application, we always see that particular type of thing. So I can add an image. So from here, I can see the different things I can add, different controls. I want to add a layout. I want to add an input, if it's a text box or a button or a pen input, or a lot of different controls that we have here. So if I put this here, so I can just find an image that speaks to what the kind of app I'm trying to build. So I'll just add an app, an image that I have here. So if I go to my media section, I can upload an image that I have. So this is an image that I already have on um, my desktop on my PC. So I can just select it and make this, a check-in application, right? So we can see that it's just a matter of inserting and dragging and dropping. So perhaps it's more like if you can use PowerPoint and Excel, then most likely you can as well use Power Apps, because it's just similar to the same way you just insert controls on your PowerPoint and then you write functions on Excel. It's just very similar to that. So this is just checking. I'm sorry, I'm very bad with design, so you guys would have to manage my designs. So yeah, so one thing we want to add again is to just say, okay, welcome. So we want to say maybe welcome this and this, and I say, okay, login.
Can you help zoom in a little bit?
Okay.
Using the machine button down. Okay, okay.
Right. So let's say I want to change my button and say um, login. Right? So yes, so let's say we want to also maybe show the name of the person that is logged in, just like you have a customized message when you log into a particular app, and just shows you your name to say, okay, welcome Babatunde, or whatever your name is. We can as well, do that. So one of the connectors I would want to add here. So there is a particular connector called the Office 365 users. So with Office 365 users connector, it allows you to pick a lot of different information about that particular person that is currently logged in. So you could pick the email of the person, the name of the person, the department, the location, and a lot of different information that or the manager has, which has been populated on the Office 365 details of that particular person. So one of the things we can do here is to just insert a label, right? So let's say this is our label, and I'll just say welcome. So here now I want to show the name of the person, right? There's a particular function on Office or on Power Apps by default that also does that, but it's limited in the information it can pick. But it could actually work for us here. So we can have it as user.email. Okay, so you can pick the email, the full name, and the image, which is the picture of that person. So if I put the full name, so it will show me the name of that person. So I can see now that I have welcome Babatunde Akande. So if somebody else logs in, let's say Ola, it also shows welcome Ola, right? So rather than showing my name. So I don't need to bother about having to create it for each person. So with this, it just picks whoever is logged in, and I can do a lot of formatting from here. I want to centralize this. I want to change the size. I want to make it bold. A lot of features that I have there. I want to change the font size to say 30 or something like that. So a lot of that can be done, right from here.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, today I just want to add this that it's exciting to see how you wrote. I just typed something. I'm a bit curious about that portion where I can see FX. It's similar to what we have in Excel. Where we just
Yes.
put function, and this thing looks like Excel function. Am I right? Can you help us?
Yes.
For a lot of new guys here, can you help us clarify what just happened there?
Okay, thanks. So what happened here is, so there are a lot of, like I mentioned, if you can use PowerPoint and you can use Excel, then most likely you can use Power Apps, because it's a combination of both, right? So PowerPoint in the sense that you can see the way I could insert controls. You can also insert this, on your PowerPoint. You can insert pictures, you can insert buttons, and you put all of the designs that you want to put. Then you want to perform some certain functions. So you want to combine or like concatenate two cells, or you want to add two different cells or different rows or thereabouts. So a lot of functions like that, are available on Power Apps as well. So you can see, if you click on this FX, you can see different type of functions that are available from here. So you can see if you want to perform a function on text, you want to check. So you see a lot of different ones here. So if you select any particular one, it could show you the what is used for, right? So you can check and see what. So okay, let's say concatenate, for example. So it shows you an information here that, okay, this joins several text value into one text value, right? So a lot of different things I want to. So you might also want to read up on there's a Microsoft documentation on the Power Apps formula reference, which is very, very interesting to tell you different formulas that you have and what you can do with them and what you can achieve using that particular those formulas. So I just use a particular formula that is already available here, which is user.fullname. So it allows you to just get whoever is logged in. I want to get the email, I want to get the picture of the person, or I want to get the full name. So it shows me this. So the reason I'm adding this particular Office 365 users is much more robust, right? It allows me to fetch several other information. Say I want to fetch the person's line manager. I want to fetch the department and different other information. So this one is much more robust in that sense. So here now, let's say I also want to create another screen. So maybe on this screen we'll have a button to just say check in or check out. So in a case where you want to check in, you click on check in, and when you are checking out, you click on check out. To check in, right? So I might just want to increase this size to check in. So I can just duplicate, I can copy and paste my button. So rather than having to duplicate this button, I can just click it and say check in, and just since it's a button I need to create, rather than inserting a new one, and I just say check out, right? Yes. So one thing we want to do here again is so let's create another screen. So the reason for this other screen is because we want to, when you check in, of course, remember we have our database, which is our data source. We want that information to go into that data source, right? So we need to have a form here. So if we go here and we had an edit form, so we'll then connect it to the data source. So on an app, you can have more than one data source, right? You might have an app that needs to speak to a Dataverse, speak to another SharePoint list, speak to different data sources. So of course, you have the ability to have different data sources. So the form here now, I want to connect it to a particular data source, which is my clocking information. Yeah, so once this is connected, it shows me the different fields that I have on my form, on my data source, which is my yes. So I can see now that I have name, email, date in, timing, date out, timeouts. Okay, let me zoom that in a little.
So just to a bit step in here,
Okay.
it's surprising and interesting that when you connect the form view to the data source, it automatically generates form feed for us. In
Exactly.
traditional application development, you have to manually define the label, the feed, and connect these to the data sources, right?
Right.
Oh,
Very well.
that's time saving and very effective and
Exactly.
efficient.
Exactly. Thank you. So like that's one of the ideas of Microsoft, so that you don't have to go through the stress of having to write the code. Yeah. So I used to write a bit of JavaScript, HTML, CSS, right? So and I know what it takes for you to write all these labels, all these forms, and having to even write, CSS can even be very crazy. For you to now start aligning and say, okay, this should be the width, this should be the size, this should be the position and all that. So, but with Power Apps, you don't have to, stress yourself on that. If you need to even increase anything, you can just go ahead to, increase the width and change the size just by dragging and dropping, rather than having to, go through the stress of I want to write a code to change the design or change the structure or change whatever I need to change there. So it's just a matter of dragging and dropping and putting all my information that I want here. So here now, what I'll just quickly do again is, okay, so I think I should actually be naming my screens. So let's call this our home screen. So this is the home screen that people see whenever they log in, right? So this is the check-in, check-out screen. So when you want to check in and you want to check out or check out. So when you want to check in or check out, this is the screen it takes you to, where you click either you are checking in or you are checking out, right? So here now again, we now have our form. So let's call this check-in form. We will see the reason why we are having this form very shortly. Then I'll just duplicate this to have a screen where we can, check out the form as well. So let's say you want to check in, of course. So the idea is, when I'm checking in, I'm filling a particular row on that table, right? When I'm checking out, I don't need to fill a new row. just like when you are signing in on a document, right? You don't fill a new row when you are checking out. You just fill that same row where you have checked in, and you just fill the section where you are saying you are now putting your time that you are signing out and maybe your signature, right? So that's what we are trying to achieve here. So we'll see why we have this screen duplicated. Though we could also use the same form to do the check-in and check-out, but it might require a lot of logic, but I don't want to get things very complicated here. So I think maybe as time goes on, we could also explore that in the future, but this will be very straightforward, right? So yes, so now I have this check-in form. So on my check-in form, what I want to do is to say I want to pick the information of that particular person, right? So like I mentioned, so the value here, I want to pick the name. So what I'll do here is for me to be able to change, there is something here to say unlock change to change properties. So once I unlock this, to give me the ability to modify some of the information that I have here. So I
Okay.
can say, okay.
Sorry, there is a question here quickly so that we don't shoot it. Peter Wade is asking that can you go over how you save the table again? I just need to confirm this. He said, I can't find my form when I click edit form.
Oh, okay.
Okay, do you get
So
the question?
yes, so if you can't find the form, if you clicked on edit form, so after adding your edit form and it's showing no data, I don't know if that's what it's showing. So if it's showing you no data, okay, so let me just quickly add a new screen just to show that in case that's what you are currently experiencing, right? So in a case where you had a new edit form, so when you add a new edit form, it shows you no this form isn't connected to any data yet. So if your table is already saved and connected to the list, you need to go to these data sources to confirm. So this Dataverse used to be called common data service. So you can see common data service there. So if you have been able to successfully add your table, right, you should see it where as part of your data sources on your application. So for you to get the form that is added, when you after editing form, for you to now get those fields, you now need to connect this. So if you go to this right hand side where you have the data source, you need to now select the data source you want to pick. Like I mentioned, you can have several data sources on your app, but which data source do you want to connect to is what is asking you here. So I now select my plugin information data source, which I already added to the app. So once I select that data source, it automatically populates all the fields that I already have created on my Dataverse, or which is my data source in this case. It now shows them. It should show up here, as you can see, right? So just to quickly go back. So if I go back to edit data, we'll see that I have all this information, all my column
Columns.
that I've
Yeah,
created.
columns.
Exactly. Yes. So as you are creating it, it's automatically saving. So once I click on add new and I type in the name of the column and I select the data type, I'll just once I click on create, it automatically creates and save that column. So once I'm done, I just close this and come back to my application. So we can see it's showing that it's refreshing. So if I've added any new columns or anything, it just updates that information back to my app here. So I don't know if that answered the question of whoever was asking
Yeah,
that.
I'm hopeful that that answered the question from Peter Wade. So you will proceed now, and I'll come back to it. Another question has dropped, but I want you to proceed, and we come back to that question. And
All right. All right. Yeah. So one of the things we want to do here is the name. So we don't want the person to come here and enter because of course we have to simplify this, right? So we want it to automatically pick the name of whoever is logged in. So like I mentioned, we have the function to pick the user's name, right? So we can say user dot full name. So with this, it will automatically pick the name of whoever is logged in, as you can see, right? So if I also go here, I'll also unlock my data, my data card, and say unlock to change properties from the advanced section here. Once I click on unlock, for the email of the person, The user.email will also work for that. So I can pick the email. So let's say I want to also go ahead, just because of our time, I don't want to do that. So I can as well create columns to say I want to pick the department of the person. I want to pick several other information from the person, right? So I can go ahead to use this my Office 365 users connector, to pick those information from there. And I'll just pick maybe the email or whatever I want to pick. Now I want to pick the date in. So I'll just say today. So today is also a function that picks the current date, right? So you can see that it automatically shows me today's date. So let's say I want to pick the timing. So I can unlock this and say, so what I'll do in this case is I'll use another function to get the time and format it as text. So there's a function called now. There's a function called text, right? Then I want to convert. So now is a function that returns the current time. So the current date and the time, right? So what I want to do now is now format just and extract just the time. So I want to pick the time the person came in. I'll say comma, then I'll put this in these two quotes. Then I can write HH from MM. So what that means is you should pick the hour and the minutes, right? So once that picks the current hour and the minutes, then it shows up here. So which means the dates and the time in are done and then displayed here. So for this particular one, I might decide to delete these other data cards as they are not needed. So I can just use my delete button. So I don't need the timeout as well because this is the check-in form.
Actually,
So
I was about asking that one too. That okay, how do you
okay,
manage a fields that you do not need on the form,
yes,
but tend to
exactly. So
focus on?
there are two ways. You can use your delete button, or you can go to you select if you select the form itself, and you go to edit fields. So we can see if I need to re-add the field, I can always come back here and add the field. Any field I need to add, I'll just select it, right, and I pick it. Then if I need to delete any field, I can also click on these three dots and say remove. So with that, I can just remove any field that are unnecessary on that form. So now for the status, so which is one of the reasons I had to create this status, because I want to know, is this person currently signed in or signed out, right? So I'll just change this and I'll say signed in. So signed in, which means whenever I submit this form, it will pick all this information and submit them, and it will pick the status as signed in. So I know that, no, yes, this particular person is currently signed in. So with this, we are good. So here, what we want to do is to make the app very simple. We might not want to display all this information for the user. All they are just doing is to just say check in, and they just show them, okay, you have been successfully checked in. But this information is what we need in the back end, right? We want to be able to pick those information. So which is why we are having this form. There's another function we can actually use without creating this form. It's called the patch function, but that might be a little complex at this stage. So that's why I'm using something that we can easily relate with, right? Which is why I'm using this form. So we have all of this information. So the name, the email, the dates, the timing, the status, right? So with this now, I also want to now go to the one for signing out. So for this one, I don't need the time in, right? So I'm going to just delete that. And I don't need the dating as well. So I just need the dates out and the time out. So same thing I can also do here. So here now, what I will do is to change this particular one. I'll change the status to signed out, the timeout as well. I want to pick so text now, then our HHMM as well. So it also picks the timeout. Then I can also unlock this and pick today. So with that, I'm picking the time in, date out, and time out. So recall that when you are checking in, we should have picked the time, your name and your email. So I'm going to leave this ones blank for now, and we'll see how that works out later on. So what I'll do is, so yes, this one is edit mode. So for our new form, for our check-in form, we'll make this a new form, right? Then I want to also add a new screen. Okay, so I have this a screen, so let me just remove this. So I want to have a screen that shows the person that, yes, you have been successfully checked in or checked out, right? So that the person gets an information, because when you are building your app, the user experience also matters, right? So when you create an app, you need to be able to carry your users along. So let me select this success screen. So the success screen is one of the layout that is already available, right? So I can just change this message to check in or check out successful. Successful. So what this is going to show is whenever I click on check in and I'm able to check in or check out successfully, it just shows me this message so that I know that yes, I've been successfully checked in or checked out, right? So which is why I was talking about the user experience. So which is very important, because with that, the user will know. So if I just click on check in and nothing happens, the information might have actually submitted, but I don't know if it was successful or not, right? So yes, so what we will do here is we want to check in. So what we will just tell this to do. So there is a particular, so this drop down contains different properties of the control I've selected. So here now I've selected the check-in form, the check-in button rather. So I want to see different properties to say, okay, what are the things I can change? What are the things if I want to change the color of the button, I want to change the text, I want to change different properties about the button, I can actually change them from here. So a property I'll be updating here is on select. So on select here, I'll tell it to submit form. So there's a function called submit form. Then the name of the form I want to submit. So let's call this my check-in. So I want to submit this check-in form whenever I click on check-in, which means all the information that I have here, I want it to be submitted, to my list, or to my Dataverse, which is my data source in this case. So whenever I click on check-in, I want it to go and submit all this information. So I'll just say submit form, then the name of my form, which is check-in. Then I close this. So once I do that, it will submit that information to my data source, which is this Dataverse that I have here. So if I click on check-in now, I'll see that this information will be submitted. So let's say coming from our home screen, we can just say something like navigate. So let me go to the on select of this as well. So there's a function on, so you can see that we've created several screens. So let's say I want to navigate from one screen to another. I will have the navigate, then the screen I want to navigate to. So check in or check out. So if I preview this app now, let me select the canvas size. And I click on login, right? You can see that it takes me back to it takes me to this screen where I have my check-in or check-out. That's because I already gave the function, I already wrote the function here to say navigate me to this particular screen. So with that, it just takes me to this screen. So I have this submit form, which is check-in. Now if I preview this and I click on check-in, yes. So like I said, this most likely are submitted to the list, but I can't see any information that it has submitted, which is what we are going to get into very shortly. But if I go back to my Dataverse and I try to edit the data, I'll see that I have those information submitted already. My name, the email, the dates, the timing, the dating, the timing. So I still have date out and timer because I'm currently signed in. So and I can see that the status is signed in, right? So until I am now signed out before I have a value in my timeout. So yes, so we've been able to achieve the part that checks us in successfully. So now, like I mentioned, we don't want to. What if I tell it to also submit this sign out form? It means it's just going to create a new row on my table and say this is what I'm signing out. But I want it to be able to update the existing information of the time I already checked in, and I'll just put in those two columns of my date time out and date out, and I will update it to the fact that I've signed out rather than creating a new row. So that's what we want to achieve there. So that might be a little more complex. So what we want to do here, like I mentioned, this is my my data source, right? So for this particular one, let me go to my checkout form now. I want to, yes, so this default mode of a form, we have the new. So if you are submitting a new form, like you want to submit a fresh new row, you use a new form. If you want to submit, you want to update an existing item, then you use edits, right? Then this view is just, you want the person to just be able to view the form. The person should not be able to update or do anything. You should just be able to view. Then you use the view form. So now what we want to use is the edit form, but then there is a particular property here called item. So this item property, we want to be able to say, okay, go and check if this person that is currently logged in has.
Sorry, can you help us zoom a bit? I
Okay.
think that seems a little narrow. Okay. At least we'll be able to see that when we are watching again.
Okay, yeah. So here now I want to say, okay, look up. So what this lookup will do is to say, okay, go and check where I have my my data source and check if this person that is currently logged in has an item that is currently which has the status of signed in. So if the person has the status of signed in, then put that particular item here and then sign the person out. Then the person can now sign out, right? So what we will say here is to say, okay, where the user dot email, right, is equal to our column, which is the email. So you remember we have a column on our data source which is called email. So it will go and check that part and see where this pass the user email. So the user email picks the email of the current user, right? And where it matches with any row on that data source that has the same email, right? Then we can now say and the status. So we can see that our status show this status, right, is equal to signed in. So when it checks that particular data source and it sees any item that has the that particular information as this person is signed in, then it will bring this back to this. So okay, I think it should be email. Just a second. Pause to this. Yes. So where the email, which is the column we are trying to look for, is matches with the email of the current user that is logged in, and this status is signed in. So we can see now that, you remember I didn't put the default property for the names and email initially here, right? So here now I can now put this information. So if we go back to our checkout now and we tell it to submit, so let's call this checkout. So if we tell it to now submit this checkout, we'll see that rather than creating a new row, it will just go and update that existing row where we already have signed in and signed out, which is, of course, what happens in a real life scenario. So let's go to our on select. I will say submit form again. Then we will say checkout. So if we go ahead again to say checkout, if I go to check out this, let me see. So you see that's the user experience. So I'm going to get into us updating. So we can see now that I have this date out and timeout updated, but I can't really see anything if it was successfully checked in or successfully checked out. But you recall that we already have um, a screen for that to show us that, okay, I've been successfully checked in or checked out. So what we will do here is we'll come to this form. So there's a property called on success. So this on success means when the form is successfully submitted, right? So I would say, so what we want you to do is whenever this form is successfully submitted, because we are using submit form, just navigate me like we used navigate the other time. So take me to this, should I rename this? So it's screen 3, which is where we have our success screen. So let's quickly rename this to success screen. Right. So that should have taken effect here. So navigate to success screen. Then we'll tell it to navigate this one as well to success screen. Then once it has successfully submitted, we want to just reset this form as well. So there is a function called reset form.
So the reset form function, we sort of make it reset the feeds so that I can take in new set of data and then put and not go
Exactly.
back.
Thank you. So if without this reset form, what would happen is I won't want to go into because of time. So if we reset form without resetting the form, it will assume that yes, you have submitted your form and that's it, right? You now need to maybe, except you probably have to reopen your app, which of course we don't want, right? So what we'll just have to do is to make it reset that form so that it can allow for new information. So in case you already checked in and you want to still check out within the same session that you are still logged in on the app, you can actually do that. So we'll just say reset form, which is this check-in. Then create a new form for us. So after you have just reset the form, just make it another new form that I can now fill, right? Then for this other checkout as well, we'll also tell it. So when you have multiple functions that you want to be performed, so you separate them with a semicolon. So semicolon means, okay, do this, then do this, then do this, then do that. So there's another function that allows you to, maybe if you want to run concurrent function that you want it to all run, concurrently. So there's a concurrent function too, which allows you to do that. So this one as well, we'll just say reset form checkout. But this is an edit form, not a new form. So we'll just say edit form checkout. So with this now, what will happen is whenever I check in, it will take me to the success screen. So it shows me that, yes, I'm successfully checked in. So let me check in again now. Okay, it says, so let me quickly check if there's something wrong. Okay.
I think the error is okay.
Yeah, because I need to set that form. We didn't have, so yes, exactly. That was the reason why it's not working now, because when we did it initially, we didn't tell it to reset the form. So it assumes that that form has been submitted. And if I had previewed this, then it will show me that there is no data source or something like that. So let me just quickly check in now. So you can see now that it took me to the page that have been successfully checked in or checked out. So with this now, the user knows that, yes, what I checked in was actually successful. So with that, the person can go back. So let's just add a button here. I will just say okay.
While you are adding that button to enable us to go back to the home page or to log out or to exit the application, which should be in this case, is it also possible to append to the function that leads to this successful check-in stage to say, okay, after you've returned that page, then log out or exit the application?
Yes, yes. So there's an exit function as well that you can use to exit the application. So that exit function says, okay, after maybe once I've successfully signed in, so I can actually say, okay, after you have shown this check in, check out, so there's a timer control as well that I can say, maybe after showing me for like 2 or 3 seconds, then exit the application. So that is also, very much possible.
But let's do this, and another time, we can you can really take that as an assignment to see other ways we can exit, this success screen.
Exactly. So we can say it should navigate us to the home screen. So if I navigate this to the home screen now, okay, so we can see that it took me back to this our screen here, and I have this, so which is my login. So if I go back here now and I say login and I click on checkout, so checkout should also tell me that I've been checked in or checked out successfully. So if we go back to our data source now, we'll see that we should have 2 rows. So which is correct. We have 2 rows now. It showed me the time that I checked in and checked out the first time. You can see the time I also checked in and checked out the second time. So I can see that I'm currently signed out on these 2. So each and every day you go in, you can see the record of people that are checking in, people that are checking out, and all of that. So there are different other functionalities that we can add to this, but because of our time, we might not be able to go into that. But I believe we can also try things like that out. So, for example, there are a lot of validation that still even needs to be done even from here. So, for example, of course, when I'm currently checked in, I shouldn't be able to check in again, right? So maybe we can have a something on this. So I'll just give an hint on that. So this display mode property, I can do something such that rather than, so let me just change this to disabled so we see how it works. So I'm sure we have seen something similar to that when we are filling a form where a button is grayed out and you are unable to click on it, right? So which means when I try to click on this, it is not clickable. So we can have a function that checks if this person is currently signed in. So which means if this person is signed in, then this button should be grayed out so that I know that I
True.
can only check out at that point. And when I'm currently checked out, this other one should now be um enabled where I can now check in. So that's something we can add to this. So a lot of functionality. So I have a friend who has also built a similar app whereby it can pick your location from where you are signing in from. So especially now that everybody is working remotely, they want to know your location, where you are checking in, you are checking out. Maybe you are the type that goes to a customer side and they need to know that okay, this person is now at the customer side, so you need to check in, then it picks that current location. Then the HR can see the data. They have an app where they can see the list of people that are currently checked in, people that are currently checked out, the time they are signing in, the time they are signing out, and a lot of other functionalities that can be added, but we might not be able to go into all of that because of our time. But I believe with this little we are able to at least learn a few things and see how powerful we can. So if we are going to build an app like this, if you go meet a developer that you need to build an app that will be able to achieve this, I'm very certain even if it's a senior developer, it will tell you that it will take a couple of days for it to achieve. But you can see that within a few minutes or about an hour thereabout, we are able to create an app that solves the particular problem, right? And just within a matter of time, without having to write any code. So you can see that it's just a matter of functions that we are just writing. So there are a lot of this can be extended, like I mentioned, can be extended to add more functionalities. So if I want to say whenever anybody checks in, you want to send an email to the person that okay, you have been checked in or you have been checked out. or people send people reminder that okay, you need to check in today and all of that. That can be done, and you can also introduce Power BI into this to see how often people are signing in, how many people are signing in late, how many people are currently, you can even see okay how many people are currently signed in at any point in time or are signed out. So a lot of other things that you can achieve with that. But I'd just like to stop here, but I believe we have gained one or two things from my little session today. Thank
Wow.
you.
Wow, I'm so happy and glad. It's been an awesome session. Thank you, Baba J. Do you see why I often say this is very experienced in this field? Not only to deliver this under 60 minutes. Remember, it takes you longer time when you're walking people through a solution than when you are building it yourself. I'm sure under 30 minutes you will have completed this with even more and more functionality. And for us, that are just starting up in this field, I believe that this solution today will stir up more curiosity, especially some of those other functionality as mentioned. But primarily, try as much as possible to go over this video again, replicate. Remember, we learn by doing. And one of our theme in this community is in doers we trust. So we believe in people who can lay their hands on something and get it done. Don't even neglect the days of this beginning. We are just starting. And personally, for me, I gained a lot. I feel more confident about the things I know about Power Apps, and I see a lot of reason why if you are teaching people that are just coming up, there are some functions you use that just simplify the whole concept than introducing them to a lot of maybe advanced functions. Take for example, he was able to bring in the connector, Office 365 connector, that makes it easier for us to retrieve the name, to retrieve basic other details we need about that employee. Meanwhile, if this is needed, maybe in an advanced form, you would have maybe ensure use other functions that people will be wondering how do we get this done, but he has simplified it. So in case there are one, two questions that we have, I know your questions will come up. For everyone that have registered in the community, we're going to send a form so you can always document your questions. Importantly, we have a WhatsApp group where and I was surprised. Over the week, someone came up with a question, and a lot of people were there to explain and address and help troubleshoot, even if that is not solved. But having people attending to you or addressing your needs can be really welcoming and comforting. So I would encourage us to subscribe and get on board on this WhatsApp group. You get first-hand information to the next program, next event that is coming up. You also get teamwork, community, friends, colleagues that can respond to you on any issues you are facing. Okay, can I get a link to the video, please? Yes, if you are watching this on our YouTube channel, it is right there. You can replay. And if you are watching on any of this platform, the video is saved. Even if it is on LinkedIn, when you like this video, you always get it back or you save it using the save feature. And also on Facebook, you can also save it and you always go back to that same video and replay it. Thank you to everyone that has been with us from beginning to now, or at any point you have joined us. We sincerely appreciate you. And I cannot end up this session without saying a big thank you to uh, our guest today, in person of Tunde Akande. We owe you, the community owe you a lot, and I believe that our success story you will be in the write-up because this moment, this night, what you just showed us is the beginning and is sharing a lot of interest in a lot of people, and this will make them to start looking, more at the possibilities of what is they're able to do with Microsoft Power Apps. Thank you, and we are grateful for being a great support to the community. And to the whole house, a big thank you again. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. We hope to reach 1,000 subscribers. This way we can bring our community to YouTube. Right now, I can't. There are a lot of other information, a lot of things, resources, things that I need to post and engage people with on Facebook, on YouTube, but we can't because we've not reached 1,000 subscribers. So I'm going to raise a campaign this weekend, I will encourage everyone receiving the campaign and the link to help us share. We are currently around 809, 806 or 807 subscribers. We need at least 194 more people to subscribe. And I believe we can achieve, especially with the value that we have. People will thank you for sharing this with them, for inviting them to be part of this community. So please, I will encourage us to also like and share the link for others to join. You can just tell them, they will definitely join. Until the next time we meet, in the next 2 weeks, we are bringing a very, in fact, knowledgeable individual, and she's going to be the first female on Microsoft Power Night. She'll be teaching us Power Virtual Agent. How do we build an inquiry application, a chatbot in Microsoft Teams, similar to what we have done today? We did this one in Microsoft Teams Powerapps. I'm going to keep building more applications like this. But next edition of Microsoft Power Night, we're going to be building an inquiry bot using Microsoft Teams. We'll see how that will be done in this session. So thank you, everyone. And like I said, it's evening over here in Nigeria. It could be any time of the day, wherever you're joining us from. But I hope you have a great day and great hours ahead. Thank you, and bye for now.